In the far corner of the Andromeda galaxy, the sky burned red. The Varelians, a peaceful and intelligent alien species, were on the edge of extinction. Their once beautiful cities now lay in ruins. Fire and smoke rose from every corner of their world. Children cried. Elders prayed. But no one answered. The Draxan swarm had come. The Draxan were not just any enemy. They were monsters. Giant, insect-like creatures that moved in packs, destroyed planets, and left only silence behind. They did not talk. They did not listen. They only killed. For 5 years, the Varelians tried to fight back. Their weapons failed. Their shields broke. Every world they tried to protect fell. Millions of their people vanished. Billions died. And now, only one colony remained, Viral Prime. High above the planet, inside the last command center, Supreme Leader Illyrin stood silently. His green-blue skin had lost its glow. His eyes were tired. Around him, generals and scientists argued. "There is no hope," said General Trisk. "Our fleets are destroyed. We must surrender." "Surrender to what?" replied scientist Elia. "The Draxan don't take prisoners. They will erase us." Another general shouted, "We should have built stronger weapons." "No," said Illyrin quietly. "We should have asked for help long ago." The room fell silent. Help, but from whom? The Varelians were proud. For thousands of years, they had believed themselves to be the most advanced race in the nearby galaxies. They never joined the Galactic Council. They never shared their technology. They believed in peace, in beauty, and in isolation. Now, they were alone and dying. "There is one option," said Elia slowly. She pressed a button, and a screen showed a map of the Milky Way galaxy. A small blue planet blinked on the edge of the screen. "Earth," she said. "Humans." The room filled with laughter and disbelief. "Humans? The wild ones, the warlike savages. They are primitive, dangerous." Elia nodded. "Yes, but they are fighters, survivors. If anyone can stand against the Draxan, it might be them." "They are unpredictable," said a general. "Exactly," said Elia. "And maybe that's what we need." Illyrin stared at the screen, in silence, in thought. "Send the signal," he said. Far away on Earth, deep inside a military base hidden beneath the ice of Antarctica, an alert blared. A woman in a black uniform looked up from her screen. She pressed a button. "Ma'am," she said into a comm, "you need to see this." Within minutes, a group of humans gathered in a dark, silent room. A hologram floated in the center. The message was shaky, broken, but clear enough. A Virelian voice echoed across the stars. "This is Supreme Leader Illyrin of the Virelian people. We are under attack by a force we cannot stop. We beg for assistance. Earth, humanity, please. You are our last hope." The room was quiet. General Rael, tall and calm, stepped forward. His face was unreadable. "What do we know about them?" he asked. A scientist replied, "Peaceful, isolated, technologically advanced, but now desperate." Rael nodded. "And what do they know about us?" The room was silent. The scientist cleared his throat. "Very little. They call us unpredictable, violent, dangerous." A small smile crossed Rael's face. "They're not wrong." He turned to his officers. "Prepare a fleet, full Black Ops, zero mercy." "But General," said one officer, "shouldn't we talk first? Try to understand their enemy." Rael's eyes turned cold. "If they're calling us, they've already lost. We're not going to talk. We're going to end this." Back on Viral Prime, hours passed. The sky above was growing darker. The Draxan were close. Illyrin stood by the window, watching the stars, waiting. And then, the signal came. A fleet. Massive black ships broke through space like thunder. Their design was sharp, strange, and terrifying. They moved fast, without warning, without words. One of the ships sent a single message to Viral Prime. "We received your signal. Stand by. This is a human operation now." The Varelians stared in shock. Who were these beings? Why did their ships look more like weapons than vessels? Ilaran looked to Elia. "Have we made a mistake?" he whispered. Elia didn't answer. She only watched as the ships disappeared into deep space, headed straight for the Draxan swarm. Later that night, a Virelian child asked her mother, "Who are the humans?" The mother looked to the sky, her voice soft and unsure. "They were once called monsters," she said, "but maybe they are the monsters we need." The sky above Viral Prime was quiet. The human fleet had vanished into deep space, chasing the Draxan. No one knew what would happen next. The Varelians waited. Days passed, then weeks. There was no news. Some Varelians began to lose hope again. "Maybe the humans failed," they whispered. "Maybe the Draxan destroyed them too." But then, the sky lit up again. A single human ship returned. It was massive, black like a shadow, with glowing red lines on its surface. It looked more like a creature than a machine. It did not ask permission. It simply landed. Virelian soldiers surrounded it carefully. They pointed weapons, unsure what would come out. A door opened. From the dark ship, 5 humans walked out. They were covered in black armor. Their faces were hidden behind helmets. Their steps were slow, confident, like they were not visitors, but owners of the land. The leader stepped forward. He removed his helmet. General Rael. His face was calm but sharp, his eyes cold and steady. He looked around at the Varelians like he had seen them before, and already judged them. "I am General Rael of Earth's Unified Command," he said. "Where is your supreme leader?" In the great hall of the Varelian citadel, Ellerin sat on a tall silver chair. He had dressed in his finest robes, hoping to appear strong. Rael entered without bowing, without smiling. Ilaran stood. "Welcome to Viral Prime. We thank you for answering our..." Rael raised his hand, cutting him off. "This is not a visit," he said. "This is war. We're not here to save you. We're here to stop the Draxan." The room fell silent. Ilaran tried to keep his voice steady. "Then, you accept our request for help?" Rael nodded. "Yes. But we will take full control. You do not give us orders. You do not question our methods. From now on, this is a human operation." Some of the Virelian guards looked at each other in fear. Ilaran spoke carefully. "May we ask, how many humans will join this fight?" Rael looked him in the eyes. "Enough." Later, in a private meeting, Virelian scientist Elia asked the human team, "Why did you come?" "We thought humans did not care about other species." One of the human officers, a woman named Captain Vega, smiled darkly. "We don't, but we care about threats. And the Draxan are a threat. If we don't stop them now, they might reach Earth one day." Elia asked another question, slowly. "Have you fought enemies like them before?" Vega looked at her. Worse. Elia didn't know what that meant, but the way she said it made her skin crawl. Soon, the humans began building something on Viral Prime. Machines, towers, weapons. They worked fast, efficient, cold. The Varelians watched, confused. Their weapons looked ancient compared to the humans. Their technology was powerful, yes, but it lacked one thing: ruthlessness. Human weapons were made to kill fast and without mercy. General Rael called for a strategy meeting. He stood in front of a large screen showing Draxan movement. "We will hit them here," he said, pointing at a system called Forex 7. "Their supply chain is weakest there." "But," said General Trisk, "that's too far, too dangerous. We need more time to prepare." Rael didn't blink. "You had 5 years. We don't wait." "But what if?" Rael leaned in. "We don't lose." The room fell silent again. That night, Elia looked at the human ships through a telescope. They were unlike anything she had seen. Their engines were powerful but quiet. Their surfaces had strange marks, symbols of past battles. She noticed something. One ship had scratches, names, hundreds of them, carved into the metal. She asked Rael the next day, "What are those names?" Rael answered without emotion, "Fallen soldiers, from Earth's wars, all from the Draxan." He shook his head. "No, from before, from our own history." Elia was silent. She finally asked, "Why are your people so ready for war?" Rael looked at her, then at the stars. "Because we were never at peace. We learned long ago, if you want to survive, you fight first, and ask questions later." Back at the Citadel, Eleron received a report. The Draxan were moving. A massive swarm, heading toward the same system the humans had marked. Torax 7. Rael had predicted it exactly. Ilarin stood, both amazed and terrified. "These humans," he whispered, "they don't just fight the enemy. They become the storm." The human fleet moved like a shadow in space. It did not flash. It did not shine. It flowed, silent and black, like a storm waiting to break. The target, Torax 7, a major Draxan supply world. From orbit, Torax 7 looked dead, covered in black mountains, dust, and thick clouds. But underground, it was alive. Thousands of Draxan hives crawled beneath the surface. It was their nest, their fortress. No one had ever dared attack it. Until now. General Rael stood inside the command ship, arms crossed. Around him, screens showed enemy movement. A countdown began on the main display. "Target locked," said Captain Vega. "All ships ready," said another officer. Rael spoke just one word: "Unleash." And hell was released. From above, human warships opened fire. Not lasers, not missiles. Something worse. Kinetic bombardment. Rods of pure tungsten, heavy metal, fired from orbit at high speed. No sound, no warning, just impact. One rod hit the ground. Boom. It was like a meteor strike. A mountain vanished. The ground split open. Fire exploded from underground. A second rod fell. Then a third. Then dozens. The sky turned red. The ground became a sea of flames. The Draxan came crawling out of the tunnels, screeching, confused. That's when the humans dropped. From the warships, black armored soldiers launched in pods. Each pod slammed into the ground and opened. Human soldiers stepped out, tall, fast, ruthless. They didn't talk. They didn't hesitate. They hunted. Back on Viral Prime, Virelian leaders watched the attack live. Giant screens showed humans moving through ash and fire like ghosts. The Draxan charged at them, screaming, claws ready. The humans didn't run. They advanced. One soldier threw a sonic grenade. The Draxans' heads exploded. Another used a flamethrower. Blue fire lit the night. The soldiers didn't fear death. They fought as if they had done this 100 times before. Ilarin's hands trembled as he watched. He had never seen war like this. "This isn't a rescue," whispered Elia beside him. "No," said Ilarin. "This is a warning." Inside the battlefield, Captain Vega led her team into the main Draxan hive. Walls were alive, covered in slime, bones, and eggs. Strange noises echoed in the tunnels. "Be ready," she said. Suddenly, a giant Draxan queen appeared, twice as tall as a human, with long, sharp limbs and a face that dripped acid. It screamed. The team opened fire. Bullets ripped through the air. The queen charged. Vega ran straight at it. She slid under its body, pulled out a plasma blade, and cut upward. The queen shrieked and fell. The hive collapsed. Mission complete. After 43 minutes, the battle was over. 43 minutes to destroy what the Varelians could not even touch for 5 years. The Draxan were not just defeated, they were shattered. Rael sent a message to Viral Prime. Torek 7 is clean. Phase 2 begins in 48 hours. In the Varelian citadel, silence filled the hall. Leaders and scientists looked at each other. No one knew what to say. General Trisk broke the silence. This is not war. This is extinction. Elia whispered, "How many more weapons like this do they have?" Ilaran didn't answer. His eyes stayed on the screen. A human soldier was carving something into the side of his pod. Another world freed. But Ilaran knew better. That world was not freed. It was burned. That night, in the darkness of the citadel, a child asked her father, "Are the humans our friends?" The father paused. "I don't know," he said, "but they are not our enemies. Not yet." Rain fell on Viral Prime. Not real rain, artificial. The weather system was damaged during the last attack. But it still brought calm, for a moment. Inside the human base near the citadel, machines buzzed quietly. Engineers worked, soldiers trained. Their eyes never showed joy, only focus. The Varelians watched from a distance, curious, nervous. Elia, the scientist who first suggested contacting humans, had been given limited access to the base. She walked carefully, holding a scanner, pretending to study power readings. But really, she had questions. Too many questions. How did humanity learn to fight like this? Why are they not afraid? Why do they seem more dangerous than the Draxan themselves? She needed answers. That evening, she slipped deeper into the base, past the allowed areas. A security bot saw her but didn't stop her. She had learned their patrol patterns. Her heart pounded. She reached a large room at the bottom of the base. It was cold, silent. The doors were marked. Restricted, Earth Military Archives. Level 5 access only. She placed a fake ID chip against the panel. It blinked green. The doors opened. Inside were holographic records, thousands of them. Earth's military history. Helia activated a console. A voice said, "Welcome to Earth Historical Combat Library. Please choose a category." She selected one. Human conflicts. Global scale. The screen lit up. World War I. World War Ida. The nuclear crisis. The Mars uprising. The Singularity Wars. Each war showed the same pattern: mass destruction, chaos, millions dead, and humans always rising again. Stronger, smarter, colder. She kept watching. One record showed a battlefield from Earth's past, soldiers running through mud, fire, and broken buildings. Gas, chemical burns, screams. Another showed Earth cities turned into glass by nuclear fire. Elia stepped back, shaking. "This is not history," she whispered. "This is horror." Then she saw a locked file. Black record, Operation Ash Garden. It needed a voice code. She tried her access. Surprisingly, it worked. The file opened. A video played. A human commander spoke to a camera. Operation Ash Garden was a last resort. The Draxan breached the outer colony line. We had no reinforcements. We could not let them advance. So we used it. The Hades device. Elia frowned. She had never heard of this. The video continued. The device triggered a neutron burst, wiping all organic life across 4 planets in the system. 3.2 billion casualties. Mission success. The screen turned dark. Elia's knees gave out. They didn't just fight to win. They erased everything. Suddenly, the door behind her opened. General Rael walked in. Quietly, calmly. "I thought you might come here," he said. Elia tried to stand. You destroyed 4 planets." Rael didn't blink. "Yes, even your own colonies. Some were already lost. Some were in the way." Her voice shook. "How can you do this? You're not saving the galaxy. You're burning it." Rail stepped closer. "You called us for help," he said. "Help doesn't always look gentle. You could have warned us. We did. You ignored us. You judged us from afar, called us violent, savage. We were afraid of you." Rail nodded. "And now you know why." Elia stared at him. "Why are you like this? What made your kind so cold?" Rail didn't answer for a moment. Then he looked at the screen. "Our home was never safe. We fought nature, each other, machines, ourselves. We evolved through pain. We survived by force. Peace is not our history. Survival is." He paused. "You asked why we fight so well. Because we fought everything, even our own humanity." That night, Elia returned to the Citadel. She said nothing. She deleted the files from her scanner. But in her dreams, she saw fire. She heard screams. She saw a black ship with a red symbol. "Humanity first. Mercy last." And in the darkness, she whispered, "They are not our saviors. They are the final weapon." 3 days had passed since the destruction of Torix 7. The stars around Viral Prime were quiet again. But this time, the silence was heavy, unnatural. General Rail stood in the human war room, scanning space maps. His eyes were sharp, calm, waiting. He didn't trust silence. In the Citadel, Ellerin sat with Elia. "You haven't spoken since the base," he said softly. She didn't answer. He leaned forward. "What did you see?" She looked at him. Her eyes were tired, haunted. "I saw why humans win wars," she whispered, "and why they should never be in charge of peace." Before he could ask more, alarms screamed across the city. A red light lit up the sky. The Draxen were here. Not a few. Thousands. Not ships. Living vessels. The creatures had fused their own bodies into organic warships. Black, twisted, sharp, fast, more like demons than machines. The attack came without warning. The first Draxen swarm hit the Virelian defense dome. It cracked like glass. Explosions followed. The second wave targeted the human base. But the humans were ready. Without panic, they moved into position. Cannons turned. Shields activated. Fighter ships launched into the sky. General Rail gave one command: no survivors. Above the city, the sky burned. Human ships clashed with Draxen flyers. Plasma beams lit the clouds. Sonic blasts shattered mountains. Down on the ground, Draxen beasts landed and tore through streets. Some were the size of buildings. Some crawled. Some flew. Virelian soldiers fought bravely, but they were outmatched. Then came the Hell Teams. Human soldiers in heavy black armor dropped from orbit. They didn't wait. They landed inside enemy formations, cutting through the Draxen like blades through paper. One Virelian officer watched in shock as a single human soldier took down 4 Draxen brutes alone, using only a plasma axe. "They're not soldiers," he whispered. "They're monsters. But even monsters bleed." In the eastern sector, the Draxen unleashed a new weapon: biovirus storms. Poison clouds rolled across the battlefield. Machines melted. Flesh bubbled. Human soldiers screamed. Their armor cracked. Their lungs collapsed. They didn't run. They kept firing, until their hearts stopped. Elia and Ellerin reached the human command tent. "Your men are dying," Ellerin shouted. "Call them back." Rail looked at the live footage. Half his forces were down. And still, he didn't blink. "We hold the line, even if they die." Rail turned to him. "They die fighting. That's how Earth remembers its dead." Captain Vega led the Western Front. Her unit had been surrounded. "No extraction point," said her comms officer. Vega replied calmly. "Then we turned this place into a grave." She overloaded her power core. A blinding explosion erased the entire zone. Draxen and human alike. Back in orbit, human warships began charging their final weapon, the Titan beam. It could wipe out the entire enemy fleet in seconds, but it required time to charge, and someone to protect the core from Draxan infiltrators. Rael made his decision. He walked to the drop bay, took his own armor. "Sir, you're going down?" asked an officer. Rael nodded. "The enemy knocked. I'm answering." He landed with a small team. The ground was fire and blood. Draxan crawlers swarmed the Titan beam core. Rael pulled a railgun off his back. With silent fury, he charged. Each step he took was death. Each bullet ended a monster. Each scream was met with steel. He reached the core and held the line for 5 minutes alone. That was enough. The Titan beam fired. A white light tore across the sky. Every Draxan ship turned to ash. Silence returned. This time, true silence. Later, when the fires cooled, the battlefield was counted. Humans, 7,300 dead. Virelians, 40,000. Draxan, uncountable. In the Citadel, Elia stood before a new graveyard. Hundreds of human helmets placed on spikes, each one marked with a name. Rael walked beside her, quiet. "You lost too many," she said. Rael answered, "We didn't lose. We paid." She looked at him. "Is it worth it?" He stared at the helmets. "It has to be." That night, a small Virelian child placed a flower on a human helmet. The name read, "Lieutenant D. Marrow, Hell Team 9. I burn, so you don't have to." And slowly, the Virelians began to realize humans didn't fight because they loved war. They fought because they believed no one else should ever have to. The battlefield was silent now. Smoke floated in the sky like ghosts. The broken machines and bodies lay across the plains of Virel Prime. It looked like the end of the war. But it wasn't. It was just the beginning. In the deep space beyond the Virelian system, something moved. Something. Alive. A moon-sized structure drifted slowly through the dark. It had no engines, no lights, no signals. It pulsed, like a heart. It was not built by hands. It was grown. And at its center, something awoke. Back in the Citadel, Elia studied the strange patterns left on the battlefield after the Draxan attack. They weren't just claw marks or burn trails. They were symbols. Repeating lines. Spirals. Strange letters that looked like thoughts, not language. She ran them through the human database. One match. Warning. Cognitive pattern detected. Draxan hive mind behavior evolving. She froze. "They're thinking," she whispered. Ilaran and General Rael were called to a meeting. Elia explained everything. This wasn't a normal attack. It was a test. What kind of test? Rael asked. A psychological one. The Draxan were observing us, recording how we fight, how we feel, how we make choices. Rael frowned. "They're trying to understand us." "No," Elia said. "They're trying to become us." Far from the Virelian world, inside the moon-like structure, the Draxan hive mind began to form. Thousands of Draxan brains connected together, not separate anymore. Now, one mind, one will, one voice. It spoke for the first time. "We are the Hive Eternal. We learn. We adapt. The war ends when you become us, or die." The humans received a signal, deep, pulsing, encrypted in old Earth languages. It came from the hive mind. They played the message. A voice spoke. But it wasn't human. It sounded like many voices at once. "Humanity, you are strong. We have felt your rage. But rage is simple. We seek more. We seek purpose, unity. Join, or we will take your minds by force." Rael crushed the speaker in his hand. "They want to absorb us," he said. "Turn us into them." Elia nodded. "That's why they let you live." They didn't fail. They evolved. A new question rose in the Citadel. Should we attack this hive before it's fully formed? Or should we talk to it? Some Varelians begged for peace. Maybe we can reason with it, they said. Maybe this is a new life form, not just a threat. But Rael disagreed. I've seen what they do to the planets they unite, he said. There's nothing left, just one mind. No choice, no freedom. But what if they're right? Ellerin asked quietly. What if they're becoming something better? Rael looked at him coldly. Better than what? Than being human. In secret, Elia contacted the hive. She sent a question. Why do you want to become like us? The hive answered. You survive what you should not. You kill even when it breaks you. You burn, but you do not fall. We want that power. We want that pain. Because it never stops you. Then the hive gave a choice. Send one of you to us. Let us merge. Let us understand. Or we will take your minds by storm. A human volunteer stepped forward. Not Rael. Not Vega. But a wounded soldier named Kane, one of the few survivors from the last battle. I've seen enough death, Kane said. If my mind can stop more, I'll go. Rael tried to stop him, but Kane already entered the capsule. The hive accepted him. And then went silent. For hours, no signal came. Then suddenly, the hive sent a message across every human and Virelian system. A voice spoke. Kane's voice. But different. I see it now. The hive is not death. It is memory. It remembers every scream, every loss. And it wants to feel hope. It wants what we have. But it doesn't know how to ask. Elia whispered, this is no longer just a war. Ilaran nodded. This is a test of what it means to be alive. Rael said nothing. He just looked at the stars, where the hive now waited. Watching, thinking, changing, and maybe becoming more human than anyone expected. The galaxy held its breath. The Draxan hive mind had stopped its advance. After absorbing Kane, the human soldier, it was no longer silent, but it wasn't speaking either. It was thinking. Humanity and the Varelians knew this was the calm before either peace or extinction. In the Citadel, leaders gathered for one final council. Elia, Hellerin, General Rael, and other commanders stood around the war table. A projection showed the hive, still floating, still pulsing, still unknown. Elia spoke first. We have two options. She pointed to the map. Option 1. We launch Protocol Finalists, a full strike using all human superweapons. We destroy the hive completely. Option 2. We send a team inside the hive. Try to reach Kane. Try to negotiate peace. Silence followed. Rael looked at the others. I vote for war, he said coldly. We kill it now, before it learns more, before it copies more of us. Elia shook her head. And if it's really changing, if Kane is still inside, you'll kill him too. Rael replied. He volunteered to stop a war. If that means dying, he already knew. Ilaran stepped forward. What if I go inside? I'm not a soldier. I'm not a threat. Maybe it'll listen. Elia touched his arm. It could trap you. I'd rather take that chance than burn a mind that's trying to understand. Rael walked away. You both think the enemy can learn to love. I've seen what hate becomes. I've seen what war costs. Don't romanticize monsters. But the council voted. Mission inside the hive was approved. A small ship was launched. Elia, Ellerin, and a human AI specialist named Mira entered the hive through a weak point. Guided by Kane's mental signal. Inside was not what they expected. The interior was alive. Walls pulsed like veins. Light was soft, almost warm. No weapons, no guards. Voices whispered in every direction. Memories, thoughts, screams, and questions. Why do you cry? Why do you kill? Why do you still hope? Elia whispered. They're asking. Like children. Suddenly, a form appeared. It was Cain, or something like him. He looked human, but behind his eyes, the hive glowed. He smiled. "You came," he said. Ilarion stepped forward. "Cain, is it still you?" "Yes." "And no," Cain replied. "I am still me, but I am more now. I remember all of you. I remember Earth, war, pain, and music, laughter. I remember love." "The hive is scared," he added. "It doesn't understand choice. It only knew survival. It learned war from us. But now, it wants more." Elia asked, "What does it want now?" Cain stepped closer. "It wants a third path. Not control, not destruction, but connection." Back on the human command ship, Rael waited for updates. He stared at the launch button for protocol finalists. One press would send neutron missiles into the hive's core. Nothing would survive. An officer called out, "Sir, incoming message." From the hive. Rael paused, then played it. Cain's voice came through. "We found a way. The hive wants to sign a treaty, to create a shared memory bridge, a place where humans, Varelians, and Draxan minds can meet, free. No control, just understanding. But only if you stand down." Rael closed his eyes. He remembered the faces of his dead soldiers. He remembered his own brother, lost in the First Contact War. Then, he remembered something else. His daughter once asked, "Daddy, will there ever be a day with no war?" He had no answer then. Now, maybe he did. Rael stood and gave the order. "Stand down. Cancel final protocol." A quiet filled the room. Then cheers. The treaty was signed 1 week later. A new station was built, called the Bridge. Inside, Varelians, humans, and Draxan fragments lived, worked, and shared thoughts. Not perfect peace, not friendship, but a beginning. Cain never returned fully to human form, but his message echoed for centuries. We burn, we fight, we rage, but we also dream. And the moment we choose to share those dreams, we win.